If you're able to see my screen.
Not yet. Now it's coming.
Yeah, perfect.
I can see that you started sharing something. Now it is there. Perfect.
Okay, one more time. Magnus, thank you so much for the opportunity. It's an honor to be here. Thank you to all attendees. As you guys know, this is SQL Friday meetup group, and the presentation is based on cleaning and transforming data with SQL. I'm about to share real life experience with you and also give you some suggestions, and then after that I'll be ready for your question, guys. Let me introduce myself, as Magnus already did a great job introducing me. My name is Jean-Joseph. I am a data engineer, Microsoft MVP, data community builder. Um, uh, for those who don't know me, I'm the founder and the main organizer of Data-Driven Community. Under Data-Driven Community, we have Cloud Data-Driven. We meet every Thursday at 12 p.m. EST, US time. And then we have Feature Data-Driven that focus on the growth of AI. And then we normally launch a big event. Last year, it was the first time, and this year it's gonna be the second editions. And I hope you guys have a chance to register. And then I've been in IT for over 19 years. I started my career as a network administrator. After that, while supporting data team, and I moved to database administration and development. After that, I moved to data engineering. I am based out of New Jersey, but originally from Haiti. I love fishing, eating. These are my kids, as you guys can see. You understand? I love also listening to audiobooks, movies, and I'm a guy who consider, researching is great. I love that. If you guys want to connect with me, this is the barcode of my community. You can connect and join my community. If you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, this is the barcode. If you want to follow me on Twitter, this is my hash. You can follow me at Garia79. Without further ado, let's start with the presentation, guys. Um, uh, when it comes to data preparations, we have three things we need to take in consideration. What I have seen, people most likely focus on the cleaning and restructuring data, but they don't focus on collecting data. Collecting data is the first step when it comes to data preparations, because you need to understand whatever data you are about to collect, can that data answer business questions? Because we're doing, data cleaning, but we don't want to spend time and resources against things that are useless. So we need to know the data type. When I say type, is it structure, semi-structure, and we need to know what kind of questions business need to ask. Is there any data silo? How can we resolve it? What would be the source? You understand? And then the data type. For example, let's say if business want to know why they are not making enough sales, you have to understand if whatever data we collecting, can that data answer that questions? So once you're done with that, that's when you're gonna think of cleaning the data, because when you're collecting the data, you are collecting business requirements. And then with that information, you can use that and leverage SQL instead of Python to do some of the data cleanup. Then once you done the data, sometimes after you done a tons of cleaning, you may need to reshape your data. That's when we have to think of restructuring the data. And I have a tons of, for example, demo, and we're gonna go over them. So guess what happened, guys? What is data cleaning all about? It's about, for example, removing duplicate or irrelevant observations, fixing structural error, and filtering unwanted outliers, and then handling missing data. And guess what happened? If doing the data collection, if you did not get enough information from business, which you guys we all have that kind of experience, we're going to have to go and start from scratch because the information business expected from us, we were not able to give that. So once you've done this, you're going to have to do a data validation and QA just to make sure you clean the data as expected, and the data you have cleaned should be able to answer business basic question. For example, does the data make sense? Okay, does the data flow the appropriate role of its field? Okay, does it prove or disprove your working theory or bring any insight to light? You have to understand, can you find trends in the data to help you form your next theory? If not, is that because of a data quality issue? Sometimes we may not be able to fix any kind of data, even though if we use all kind of strategy, and then business are the one normally go and do manual validation and randomly pick something, and you guys know what I'm talking about. But what are the benefits when you have a clean data set? So it's increased overall productivity, and then you have, for example, it's provide highest, for example, quality information and to make better decisions. And then with that, you will be able, for example, business will be happy because there will be few error. And then there's gonna be also less frustration for your employee. But guess what happened, guys? There are 5 components when it comes to data quality. There's validity, which is refer to the degree to which your data conform to define business rules or constraints, and there's an accuracy that ensure your data is close to the true value. Okay, there's completeness, the degree to which all requirement data is known, and there's consistency, where you have to ensure your data is consistent within the same data set or even across multiple data set. And there's a uniformity, which gives you the degree to which the data is specified during the same unit of measure. So in general, this is what we think, but behind the scene, this is what we do. So first of all, how do we clean it? We have to parse the data that's behind the scene, okay? When you're designing your process, okay, you have to locate and identify individual data element in the source, then isolate them in the target file, right? Also, for example, it's like when you're passing the first and last name, and you also have to for example, the second step is correcting, where we're gonna fix a problem like missing a typo, misspelling or typo, and you're gonna have to standardize it, right? So follow rules, for how things should be formatted. And then there's going to be matching, the duplication, for instance, and there's consolidation, what we call restructuring. So let's go to fun stuff, because this is most likely demo time, and I'm going to make this session very interactive, okay, in case if you guys need a lot of have question, you can, feel free to do that. So here's the thing. This is the application interface, okay? This is a user entry. When I'm looking at this, because this is just my nickname, I can clearly see there's a mistake. When we're looking at this mistake, you see the correct spelling should be Galliard. However, business type it wrong, okay? So now, when business type it wrong, we may end up to have something like that, guys. What I mean by we may end up to have a tons of spelling, like spelling mistake, as you can see right here, incomplete name, as you can see right here, formatting issue, as you can see right here, and suffix missing, right? Magnus, okay, I'm gonna make it a little bit interactive. Can you just watch what people type? How would you resolve this issue, guys? What would be the procedure would you use?
Don't be shy, people.
Don't be shy, because this is our presentation. Let's make it very interactive. You learn from me and I learn from you as well. Yeah. What procedure would you use, guys, to fix this issue? Because we have to use SQL, and we're doing it with SQL. No questions?
Gabor said, talk to the source guy. So talk to the people who entered it and tell them to correct it.
Oh no, but the thing is, if you're dealing with this is a real case. If you're dealing with like in my case, I have to load about 35,000 files before 12 p.m. So that's where you're gonna need a very smart way to do that. One person cannot do that. And yeah, some files could be 1 gig, sometimes 10 gigs, and some files could be 1 meg. So that's when you have to think of what we call fuzzy searching. What I mean by fuzzy searching is a technique that helps you uh, find a pattern that is approximately the same rather than exact, and sometimes it could be exact. When should you think of fuzzy searching, okay, or fuzzy comparisons? You have to think of it when it comes to transpositions, job it letters, extra letters, missing prefix or suffix on name, nicknames, last name, comma, first name, or vice versa. And there's a tons of more other words, right? You can add. So guess what happened? When it comes to fuzzy searching, Microsoft provide two kind of, for example, functions. We have SoundX, which is one of my favorite one. How SoundX work? It's gonna go, for example, and return a VACA data type, and it's require only one character expression. And then the data that's returned, it will be, the first one will be the first letter, it will be capitalized, and then there's gonna be a code that define it, okay? So that's mean it, this will make you feel like if it's kind of the same. However, if you upgrade to compatibility 1 or 2, I would highly suggest you, for example, to rebuild your index for SoundX to work as expected. The second function is what we call difference. Difference compared to SoundX and level them, for example, from 0 to 4. 0, it's like where it's impossible to be the same, to be the exact match. And 4 have a strong feeling that it could be the right words, names, or character that you are looking for. But just for your information, difference and SoundX are collection sensitive. So that's mean if you're dealing with quartz database that have different type of collection or table that have different type of collection, I would highly suggest you to think twice and understand that you need to use default database collection within your script, or come up with a way to make sure that the data you are about to compare have the same collection. So let's go to our demo. Give me 1 second. So this is our server. Okay. What I'm going to do here is cleaning data. Okay. So if we're looking at for fuzzy grouping, this is the lookup table. So the lookup table that I have, let me show you here. Okay. We don't have a lookup table here. And I will explain it to you one more time. So if I have that lookup table, so if I refresh this guy, okay, this lookup table is what is, let me select from these guys. Let me just explain it. This lookup table is that anytime when there is a new client registered, so they generate a client ID, okay? And then that client ID, they consider this as a sensitive data, because if you have that client ID, you will be able to get every information you need from this data center within that company. So they say they don't want to provide you, they don't want to send the client ID to be part of the files that they're gonna push to your FTP location. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna give you a table that table will be there with you in the system. You're gonna get the name and the last name. So the data that customer services will enter, that data may not be clean. So once you load the data, you have to come up with a way to match those, even though if there are mistake, misspelling, and then, for example, for you to get that employee ID. So guess what happened? Let me generate. This is consider this as one of the file we received from our FTP location, right? So let me see. Perfect. So this is it. If we're looking at here, and then if we refresh, let's see, for example, we're gonna see this is the stage. So let's make it select. So let's get familiar. You can clearly see we do not have client ID, which is employee ID. We only have name. We can clearly see name is wrongly spelling, but we do have emails. Okay, so that's mean they said we want you to put that into a table called contact. Okay, let me create contact. If we're looking at here, if we refresh this, contact table is empty. Yeah, perfect, it's empty. So now here's the thing. This is the table business wants you to do the key lookup. And then this is the data we loaded from FTP. So that data does not have employee ID, okay, because it's too sensitive. If people have that access, that employee ID, they have the system, they're gonna get all the information that they need. They don't want to provide that. They will provide you the name, first name, and some other information, email, and so on. But the final destination is where business will do all the serving, like run report and everything. So if we go, for example, we analyze this one. Yep, we already spoke about false assertion. Okay. If when we're looking at Soundex, let me just give you a recap. If we're looking at, we have Smith that have E, which is one extra letter. If the first one is S, which is Smith, and then the second one is S as well, which is Smith. And because they sound kind of the same, you see they return the same, for example, numbers 5. If I put A, for example, AD, and I query this guy, let's see what would happen. They got a different name. So that's mean it's impossible for this to be the same. So with that said, I can, for example, let me show you. Let's analyze both data set. Okay. When we analyze both data set, you can clearly see Sheriff come from the lookup table spelled the correct way, and you can clearly see, for example, this one, which is the one we load from our FTP location, which is the stage table. Okay, so it does not spell the right way. So what would be the best way to load that data? Okay, so we can use Soundex, as you can see. What I'm doing here, I'm using Soundex, and I want to make sure it's match. And then remember, I have 18 rows come from each one. Okay, so now if I go and query this one, you can clearly see I got it. I have my client ID, which is the most important things for business. Okay, again, this is real life experience. I just changed the name and break it down a little bit. So, and I was able to get the email. When we're looking at, this is from the lookup table, I got the name right. But however, from the data I load into the stage table from one of our FTP files, didn't spell the correct way. But however, I was able to provide business the data that they want. So now if I come here I can clearly go and insert that data because they want the clean data, they want from the lookup. However, they want to include the email. So the email is coming from the stage table, right? If I insert this, you're gonna clearly see, um, give me a second. I make the selection like this, which is the same query that I just won above. And then you will clearly see that I have 18 new record loaded. So those 18 new record loaded, if you're looking at here, you can clearly see I have the clean data. Not only I have the clean data, I also have the client ID, which is very private to the company, plus the email. So that's mean what I have seen people done, people that know about fuzzy searching, when you're using, pay attention of what I'm saying, guys. When you're using difference, you're gonna have to be careful because if you're not careful, you may end up to give business the wrong data. Let me explain to you. Yeah. So if you're looking at here, let me come here and do it this way for all of us to see. Give me 1 second. So what I'm doing here, if you're looking at green, because difference will level up, will give them, a number from 0 to 4, I can clearly see this sounds correct because 4 is that the data very close to be exactly the word that we're searching for. Okay, so if we're looking at here, you can clearly see that. However, the second one didn't match at all. You can clearly see Soundex give you 0. So great. Hey guys, just pay close attention because some developer, they know about this, but there is something I want to share with you. So this way that will prevent you not to make that same mistake. If we're looking at here, I said this has to be equal to 4. Okay, so 4 means give me, don't care me about level 0, 1, 2, and 3. Okay, guys, that's what 4 means. So I got the exact number. Great. But what happened if I put 3? What would happen? I'm not sure. For example, so when you're doing data cleanup and you're using false assertion, you have to be careful. I have 31. What happened? The reason why you have 31 is that the way difference works, it has to think of 3 and 4. Okay? And then it has to add 2 and 1, as you can see. Perfect. So if we're looking at here, if I put, for example, because it's exclude 4, if I put 2, guess what happened? It will go and multiply the data set again. Check what will happen, guys. Look at the data set. It is 195. So that's when within production is equal to 3 and 4. In production, for example, some of them happen to be 3, okay? But you won't get 4 because 4 is a matching value. So guess what happened, guys? If you have to do manual data validation, I would highly suggest you to do this. You move 4 if you have to use difference, and then you use kind of a complicated SQL to do the logic for you, which is what I just did here, and I'm gonna execute it. And then when I execute it, and I will explain it to you. If we're looking at here, I'm just doing 4. As you can see, I got the data as expected. I'm doing 4, okay? And then here I'm using a case statement, okay? If you're looking at here, I'm doing 4, but if I'm doing, for example, if I'm doing 3, okay, remember we're gonna get 31 records. I'm doing 3. If I'm doing 3, you're gonna see, for example, wherever 4 happened, I got the data. And then wherever, for example, the data doesn't match, I got null. So you can add some logic, just like case else require manual data validation, where business will go and make sure if this is the correct one. If you have to use difference, otherwise stick with sound, because sound decks give you exactly what you want. So that was, for example, something related to what we call fuzzy searching. So now let me go back to my, are there any questions, Magnus?
No questions? No.
Perfect. So now let me go back to my slide deck. That was, for example, fuzzy searching, because if we didn't use fuzzy searching, we're going to have to use loops, go word by word, make it very complicated, and it's hard for people to read our code. So guess what happened? When it comes to restructuring, we may receive a file like that, okay? But business want it to be this way. And we may receive a file like that. For example, if you're looking at here, we have this guy, and they said instead of having 4 numbers into one text box, we want each one to have its own field, right? So now let's go back and see what can we do. And then guess what happened, guys? So if we go to our demo, yep, for restructuring data, and then we go to sales data, correct? So if we're looking at here, what we're doing, I'm just showing you. Okay, let me see. Okay, let me open this one first. This is, for example, the normal code I have seen when I just joined. That was 5 years ago or 6 years. The company, I see something, for example, like that. Okay, so the data set that they want to split, let me show you that data set. So for you to see exactly what I'm talking about, you know what, to save time for all of us to have questions, is there's going to be any, this is the data set, guys. The same thing we saw, okay? So business wanted to be this way. So, okay, so what happened, if you're looking at this code, it's so ugly. So it's hard when they bring a consultant in for the consultant to understand that code. So what the old developer done is he done something like that, or she. Looking at this is he get the same one. He skip that and go to the second one and skip that same pattern. If you're looking at it will be increased. Go to the third one and it skip that and go to the fourth one. And this is a very ugly code. If you're looking at here, I don't think we're gonna have time to understand this. So that was great. But here's the thing, when it comes to performance, this is very great because there's not much to do. That's one way we can instruct it. But however, there are some functions that allow us to do it much better. So if we come here, you will see it is the same data set right here. Give me 1 second. It is the same data set. Let me create this for you. Okay, that's the exactly same data set. And I am using a very simple code. Let me execute this for all of us to see first, and I will explain what I did. If we're looking at here, give me a second. If we're looking at here, the code is more readable. Let me show you what I'm doing here. What I'm doing here, first of all, okay, here's what I'm doing. I am using CTE to get the data, and I'm splitting that data with the help of string split, right? And then, I use that data and pivot that data and then create the field that I want. Do you understand? I see, okay, for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If there were more fields, I would just keep counting engine just, adjust them. I could have done the same thing, provide the field name here as well, but I decided to do it this way just to make it easy for people to troubleshoot. Do you understand? So if we're looking at here, we can leverage string split to restructuring the data. It doesn't matter how the data happen, uh, uh, how we happen to receive that data. And then if we look, we also have some extra. For example, let's go with the font first. If we're looking at the font, let me put this guy here. And then let me select this because we don't have time. I have a tons of demo. If we're looking at the font, instead of we having all these fonts into one, if you're looking at, some of them have 4, some of them have 2, some of them have 1. And I leverage the same string functions, yeah, in split to do the job, as you can see. And I pivot this. And it's dynamically, populated. It's not really dynamically, but it doesn't matter how many numbers you have. As soon as there's a comma, it will go and split this as a field. When I execute this guy, it's give me the same thing. As you can see, I was able to restructure it. And then what would I say? I have a couple extra demo. There's the reason why I'm doing this is that I have seen people, let me select this. I've seen people, for example, use what we call substring, car index, part index, to do something that they could have done way simpler. If we're looking at here, we can see, for example, let me go here for us to see. We can see, for example, within that data, we have address, we have city name, we have state name, we have zip code. Instead of using substring and and car up plus car index, we could have used parse name. Parse name, things you have to know, you have to start, for example, from the lower to the highest. For example, unfortunately, it can reach up to 4 index. If I select this guy, you will clearly see I was able to split that data, and it's more readable, guys, as you can see. How cool is this? Great. That's most about restructuring data. Okay, so let's go and do, for example, something. What else I have in there? So let's go. Let's talk me about this guy. And you guys know sometimes when we inserting data, we may receive data with new line or line breaker. We may receive carriage return. We may also receive tab. But guess what happened? For us, for example, sorry about that. For us, for example, to better work with that, let me give you something. I think I have this guy here. So if we're looking at here, give me a second. Carriage return. When it comes to ASCII code, yeah, perfect. When it comes to carriage return, what we call line feed and tab in a string, you should not think of replace. What I mean by is that when you type A capital, you know it is A, but the computer is a binary system. The ASCII code is a common language all computer use to communicate across them. Or otherwise, people from China won't be able to communicate from us. You understand? Like even Magnus, I think he's have a special keyboard. Like I have a special one which is in English. You understand? We won't be able to communicate. But however, because of ASCII is the only language computer use to communicate among them. So when you type A capital, it is 65. When you type B capital, it is 66. So that's mean if you want, for example, a carriage return, you have to take off car 10. I'm not car 13. If you need a new line, you have to take off car 10. You need tab within your text. You have to take off car 9. So because I don't know how to configure data Azure Data Studio to give us kind of a different display. So I'm using SSMS to do this demo. If we're looking at here, let me, for example, insert this data. You can clearly see how am I inserting the data, and I'm selecting from that table. Let me change the view because I'm not able to do this in Data Studio. If you guys know, I'll be happy to learn. If you're looking at here, you can clearly see this is, not correct. As you can see, it is not correct at all. Okay, this is the street name, this is the city, state, and then this is the zip code. Each one is a new line. How can you do that? Because you cannot use replace. If you use replace, it will not work. That's when you have to think, for example, to replace the new line and also the carriage return. This is the carriage return. This is the new line. If we select this one, you will clearly see you were able to fix that with no issue. So that's mean I have seen people, for example, use empty string to do that. So you cannot replace any line breaker with an empty string. That does not exist. You cannot do that. The data will still be ugly. So there is a string aggregate. This is still part of restructuring as well. So what I mean by, let me select this one. If we're looking at here, if we select this one, you will clearly see we have this data there, correct? So that's the data we have. Perfect. So let me change the view. So this way we see what's going on. If you're looking at this is what we have. So there was a need that we have to group by emails, group all emails by country. Okay. If we have to do this guy, guess what happened? If we're looking at this guy, we group. This is it. Brazil have one, Mexico have one, and Russia have one does not provide any email, and then there's four, and then four from USA, right? If you have to group this, I know you guys probably think of what we call staff, and then for XML, and then you have to think, for example, subtract that data. However, there's a better way you can aggregate this. As you can see what I'm doing, they want me to aggregate mail by country. If you're looking at here, that's exactly what I'm doing, and I'm grouping by country and order by country, okay? When I select this, I can clearly see how my data look much nicer. How great is this? Yep. Okay, so now here's the thing, guys. When it comes to let me show you. When it comes to deleting duplicates, I'm not sure if you guys ever, that's formatting, we can talk about this later. I'm not sure if you guys ever, for example, have this kind of is this the one? That's the one I just did. Okay, so yep, I did this me already. Perfect. I did this as well. So now, so here's the thing. Let me do this first. People who use aggregate function, remember, when it comes to windowing function, there's two types of windowing functions. Put that in your mind when you're doing your data cleanup. Because if you blindly use them, there will be big consequences. The first one is performance. The second one is dirty data. You're gonna get dirty result. If we're looking at for windowing functions, there is two types. There's range and rows. Range is the default one, and it uses tempdb. That's gonna be a performance impact. Rows is in memory, and it gives you the right data set. Let's say if you have to run the total, okay? So guess what happened? Because range is the default one, and range gives you fake data, duplicate data. If you're looking at here, if I add this one, which is 201.04 to 135.36, it should be, for example, 336, and I am having 473. So the reason why that data is wrong is because I'm using the default one. And then you guys, if you come from a production background, you can see how business complaining the data is way too much. And then when you're looking at the developer codes, you happen to see that it is because they use the default one. So instead of you using the default one, I would highly suggest you, for example, to use, okay, the raw one. This is the same code, except that I explicitly mentioned raw unbound preceding. If I execute this one, you will see, for example, I was able to get 336. When I add this one to this one, it is true enough 336 and 4 listens. Do you understand, guys? So that's mean going basic can help you prevent your data not to be dirty. So if you want to go advanced, that's fine. But if you do not go basic, it's going to be tough for you to do a clean data cleanup. What I mean by basic, I'll give you that sample demo for you to see. There was, I have, I used to work as a consultant. I have experienced something, and I want to, for example, share this with you. Sometimes when you go basic, it is good. Let me share this with you, and I want your input. If we're looking at this, I need left would be better. Okay. Okay, perfect. Let me replace. Okay, perfect. It seems like it's way okay. Let me show you this one. This is one of the example. One of my coworker called me and say, for example, I was not able to do this. If we're looking at here, this is just an example. What they've done, it was a 25 years old application. The application generated a binary value. That binary value, so when we're loading the data, they just need the first 5 characters. Okay, they don't need anything else. When we execute the first 5 characters, it's converting it. Okay, so if we're looking at here, where is my result set? So if we're looking at here, the first one is the whole data set. Yep. And then the second one happened to be named Gene. Everybody say, how come I'm seeing people name? What's going on? And then when they call me, and then the guy, I said, I have never faced this, but sometimes if we go basic, it's good. Just Google it and tell me, what do you see? He said, Google said concatenate. When I concatenate this, it is giving me error. Google said use quote name. Google said, for example, use convert, and I have using it, and I still don't get the data that I want. I said, okay, you still have to go basic, because if you go basic, you will get, if you're looking at this, this is not the expected value. So guys, if you want to extract, okay, and then he said, okay, let me convert this, let me do all kind of things, okay, and then he showed me the last email he get. For example, say you have to use 1, okay. So if we're looking at here, I was able to get the last 5 characters. The reason why is that because I put, if we're looking at this one, if I put 0, guess what happened? And it's gonna give me a different result. Oh, sorry, if I put, for example, where did I have this first? If I put, for example, 0, you will see a different result. Yep, you see Jane. So when you put 1, so when you're converting, if you want to keep your data the same, you have to know convert have an optional parameter that you can force convert to have convert, you understand, keep the data the way it is. So that was one of the issue I was facing live. And then there's another one, and I'm pretty sure where people go and delete their own data set. Let's do this. So this way we are on the same page. If we're looking at this one, okay, is this the one? Let me go execute this one. Perfect. So this is about removing duplicate data. When I'm selecting this guy, you can clearly see this is the one that I selected. I can see there is duplicate. How people normally done duplicate research, if you're looking at, they're grouping by this. If you're looking at, they've done all kind of things to get it done the right way, okay? So anyway, let's go and find the duplicate ones, how some people done it. If we go this way, check this out. If we go this way, the whole data will delete, okay? I would highly suggest you, instead of you going this way, because you're gonna remove the records that you do not want to delete, okay? Instead of this way, it would be best to go this way, because if I use, for example, row number, I got the expected data set that I want. If you're looking at the first one, return 2, so those 2 records, I want to delete them. And then, for example, just for your information, because that was scary, that happened on production. So if I put this is equal to 1, let me show you what would happen, which is to make it the same, like the one, you will clearly see that's what we get. We get only 1 record, whereas the second one give us, for example, 3 records. I hope you guys follow what I'm saying. The last one that I want to talk about is the data type as well. You understand the data type, like even the data type, when you're using them, you got to be careful, because I was facing issue when I Google it. I got this wonderful website and I save it. You understand, because that saved me tons of time. After we done an upgrade from 2008 to 2017, if I'm not mistaken, and then the process failed, and then I had to be on the call in the middle of the night, and then people discussing. The job never stopped. The job stayed there, never stopped. So when I go and say we launch a server-side clients provider, I got that code. When I got that code and Google side effect of floating data type, I happen to go to this one. As you can see, you get the wrong data, the wrong value, and then guess what happened? They were looping based on the money they get, and they go and do some analysis. That's how the developer done it. That analysis is the one that will drive the next step within the data pipeline. If you're looking at after the upgrade occur, there is a loop here, which is similar to the issue that I was facing. It has to be, for example, we need to stop this guy. If you're looking at here, it is 5.1, and then it should stop, for example, at this guy. If you're looking at here, look, continue after. Do you understand? So that's mean even the data type, you have to think twice. When doing data cleanup, require a lot, guys. So I'm gonna leave the rest of the time for questions. What would I say? We done all of these things that I want you to know is that when it comes to data preparations, you need to know your functions. If you're dealing with positions, you have to think of car index, part index, and length. If you want to do advanced data transformation, I would highly suggest you to know what we call star, string, aggregate, substring, as you can see on the screen. And then there is Trim. Trim can give you access to replace. If you want your code very readable, instead of you say trim replace, you can include that replace within that string. And if you want, I can share some article with you. And then there is, for example, translate. I love translate as well, especially if you're dealing with complex, data format, mathematics, and stuff like that. You can translate it. So these are the kind of transformation for character set. What I would highly suggest you is to think of ASCII, to take, for example, of a car index and car and Unicode, because you cannot replace it, a line breaker with empty code that does not exist. And then for fuzzy searching, so just think of, for example, difference and sound index. With that said, for example, I would love your participation. This is the post that I post this session on LinkedIn today to remind everyone to join us. Feel free to scan it. All I'm asking you is to nicely or kindly share your feedback. You understand? And then just let me know how much you enjoyed. If there's things I should cover, I didn't, feel free to do that. And then, yeah, just share your feedback. Otherwise, guys, I want to say thank you. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. If you want to connect with me, you can scan this as well.